Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another video from Recall Labs. I am Derek, Devra Lead, joined again by Carson. How's your day going, Carson?
Very good, thanks, Derek. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a busy day. We got the blog post out, which we're here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I'm just excited to chat about it with you today. I'm I am very excited about it actually because this blog post has been a long time coming. We we have sort of settled on all of the tokenomics quite a few months ago. There's been some iterations since then, but we kind of had it all sorted out. And this was one of the longest writing processes ever because we had all the tokenomics sorted out, and then it was like, okay, cool. We had some internal, like fairly technical documentation and everything. And then we were like, how are we going to write this for like a general audience so that it's like still really interesting and engaging, gives you sufficient detail, blah, blah, blah. And that took forever to figure out exactly like what's the right like pitch and tone for this blog post. Thinking about who the target market is, like how are we going to express the right level of detail, because you don't want to dumb it down. We have like a really smart audience, right? So it's like you don't want to dumb it down too much, but it has to fit in a blog. So you have to kind of like keep it the right length. So that was a lot of work. Um, we spent a lot of time going back and forth on that. I'm pretty happy where it landed. We even like renamed some things and did a ton of back and forth internally to get it right. And now, yeah, we landed on something that I think we're all pretty excited and proud of. So looking forward to chatting about that with you today.
Yep. Today is token. Today is tokenomics, how the token plays a part in this competition ranking thing we've been working on for months. So lots of things people have been eager for. We finally get to unveil. Yeah, last stream with you and I was mathy, and again, less mathy than the original version of the idea. So today will also be, if not down to formulas, at least indicating like, and then this flows like that, and here's where there's that. So all the pieces are going to come together today.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, basically, when we do this writing stuff, Carson, the CTO, writes lots of math and formulas, and then he's got his name down on the article here as data liquidity. So, but our chief marketing officer is like, cool, okay, now I'm going to take that math away and we're going to rework it into like narrative so that we get like this nice, much more cohesive piece of writing. So anyway, that's where we're at. Pretty excited. Let's dig in because I
But
think, could be
mhm.
wrong, I think this is the first time that we're actually discussing anything with $ recall in the title of it. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So everyone drop your $recall token tickers in the chat. It's real. We are
The ticker is
ready to
recall.
share it with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. And so what does recall do? Well, simple. It enables the world to coordinate, rank, and reward quality AI aligned to their needs. That's the tagline. That's the subtitle.
That's
Uh,
all.
that's it. Yeah. So I think we're good here. I think we
Yeah.
just yeah.
Thank you for joining, everyone. It's been a total pleasure.
I'm
Remember to like and
obviously I've
subscribe.
explained it all now, and everybody gets it. Um,
Okay, so we're enabling the world to coordinate, rank, and reward quality AI that's aligned to their needs. So there's about 5 pieces there: coordinate, rank, reward, the quality AI, where do they come from, and their needs, something about it being tailored. So we're going to touch on all those today.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a nice way to break it down. So we'll try and make sure that we address all those as we flow through. The premise here is basically that there's no doubt at this point that we're going to have millions of different AI tools, models, processes, and they're clearly going to transform our everyday lives, our business operations, the way we manage our own personal finances, the way we sort of like plan and engage with people in our community. They're going to mediate much of our everyday lives. And the question kind of becomes like, well, how good is it at the thing I need it to do? Is it aligned to my actual needs? Like, how do I know that it can be trusted? All these sorts of sorts of questions start to come up. And, wouldn't it be really nice if, and we talked about this last time, wouldn't it be really nice if everybody kind of had a voice or a say in answering all of these questions? And so we've developed this concept of skill markets, where communities can kind of come together, identify the things that they need. Maybe that's creative writing aligned to specific tone and voice. Maybe that's um, you know, cancer detection. Maybe that's better coding agents for Python, whatever it may be. And then actually come together to crowdsource that need with AI, and then actually then identify and rank the top performers at that particular skill. And the reason, well, we're going to get into this, but the reason I think like now is the time to be able to do this kind of thing, uh, well, is because the technology is finally caught up to these abilities, and we'll talk about that in the next section. Um, but the broad strokes idea here, just to kick us off, is like AI is coming. There's so much of it that is going to be changing the way we interact, and really, it would be awfully nice if we had a say in how and what and how well these tools addressed our needs. And so if you scroll down a little bit, we've got this kind of section that sets the tone here, which is accelerating human and AI alignment. All right, this is the goal of Recall the network, the outcome goal that we have, kind of our broad level goal. Because at this point, it's becoming pretty clear, like capabilities, like new capabilities are not a bottleneck for AI at this point. Like every week there's like a new model that comes out that's better at coding, that's better at writing, that's better at, staying on task. Like these capabilities just keep advancing. And the costs of those things are not rising exponentially. The costs are arguably, they're like relative to everything else, they're going down. But what is kind of a challenge is that in order to keep hitting these like major milestones that these large labs companies have, they basically launch like a model that is like awesome at as many things as possible, right? And I mean, we know from like human experience that like you can kind of be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And this is sort of like what we're seeing with these models, is they can do so many things. It's incredible. But like when you get down to very specific goals and needs that we want to address, those kind of start to lack a little bit. So we've these major, oh,
Well, I was going to say this is both true at the individual model reinforcement learning training level. So, for example, you make a model that's very, very good at coding. And the way this master of none plays out in the context of the models themselves is they have weights. And so, as the weights adjust to be better and better at coding, for example, then you are giving up some tuning you could be doing, like an opportunity cost, on things like being good at math or a variety of other skills, being good at French or whatever. So that happens at the model level. And of course, most of us don't use raw models like in our command line day to day. We use these productized versions of the models, which
mhm,
themselves could have additional logic or data feeds or a UI. Those also have to make trade offs about, like, I
totally,
want to be really good at helping this person code. And in exchange, you can't just like whip up some random thing that I'm not prepared for. So, this idea of alignment is both at the fundamental model all the way up to this app layer where people like us use the darn things.
totally, totally. And yeah, there's a lot of, there's lots of interesting outcomes of like that process. This we kind of this, you can think of this like in a lot of cases it's more like traditional software development, where the market drives what you build, because that's the only way that you can kind of like pay for things. And then you push out something that's like really useful for a broad swath of the market, and and then you have sub markets that you try to capture, but it's like very push based supply side development flow. And despite all these like major advancements and things like that, people still don't totally trust it or don't want to use a particular tool for a particular job because it's not super fine tuned to that. But if we keep scrolling down, we start to kind of, in the article, we start to dig into this a little bit. where, you know, AI kind of does change the model a little bit here, or at least it can change the model a little bit here. Because there's a couple of ways that we can really start to fine tune both the models, the underlying models, and the products built on top of them in ways that we could never do before. In like, I like to use the term like it's software customization at scale. And we haven't really been able to do this before because oftentimes you'll write you write some software, some code, and you push it out to as broad an audience as possible so that you can capture as much of that audience as possible and build something that they really want. And as a result, you end up with like something that's sort of like pretty great for everybody. With AI tooling, one, we can push out way more software, way more frequently for way more audiences because we have the AI at our disposal to write and build the software. So that's one thing. The other thing is much of this AI software is sort of like tooling and scaffolding and things built on top of an underlying model. This is awesome because we have this like super amazing underlying model that's great at everything that we can then build and fine tune on top of. And we don't need to totally retrain a new model underneath, right? We just build the constraints and the scaffolding to like really direct that model in very specific ways. So like a coding agent, you'd be surprised. Our team uses tons of coding agents. And like the difference between coding agents is significant. Some of them are really amazing and some of them, like, frankly, they suck. And some of them are really good at Python and some of them are really good at, and the underlying models are the same, but the tooling built on top of them are like hyper customized to super specific needs. So that's, another degree of customization that we can start to do at scale. But then the last is like individuals, because there's models and there's prompts in here, we can actually like update prompts for individual consumers as well. So you've got like 3 layers at which
Mhm.
AI is making it possible to customize at scale.
For example, memories. If people are familiar with this memories feature in ChatGPT and increasingly other softwares, that's a good example of what Carson's saying, where you, as the user, as it stores information about you, preferences, tone, it adapts, even without you changing any settings, will become a different custom piece of software for you over time.
Exactly. Okay, so then the question becomes, and actually, recall we were doing some memory stuff earlier on, and we identified that as an area that's sort of commoditizing pretty quickly because this is an obvious one that people can start to build customization around. So we started to focus on our new direction. We've been doing this for a while now, but the direction that's not memory, which is the skill markets. And the reason we've been doing that is because markets and markets specifically for like driving development and research and development towards specific like solutions is a pretty powerful coordination mechanism to let communities kind of say like, oh, okay, if we have these super powerful models and it's very easy to hyper customize software or easier to hyper customize software to my specific needs, can we create a platform and a mechanism, a reproducible mechanism, to allow me and my community to effectively like summon software, AI-based software, to address a specific need that I have? And we've kind of said yes. The answer is yes. Like we can, and that mechanism we call those skill markets. The idea is building a market around summoning and creating a specific skill. And so we've got this section right here. And we do provide, we try and provide like a nice definition up front and then sort of elucidate what that sounds like or looks like afterwards. So skill markets, I'm going to kind of read it out and then we can talk about it. So skill markets, they're this new economic coordination mechanism that we've been designing that lets communities use tokens, in our case, recall, to signal which AI skills are valuable to that ecosystem, rank AI products on those specific skills, and this means like identifying existing AI products or inducing new AI products to be built, ranking those ones, and then rewarding those that prove the most capable through real world challenges. We've talked about why we think real world challenges are important. And then also to reward those that kind of draw those products forward. So like people who identify these products or build them.
So this is let's pause here for a moment. This is a core piece of where our thesis is different. We're using this term pull. We think that when you put tokens there to incentivize people to make money by proving they're good, that goes by many names. It's a bootstrapping, it's a grant, it's a prize, it's a bounty. And so this is the power of what the recall token enables. You can put a pool there and say, hey, whoever comes and proves they're the best at specific thing I'm interested in, according to my rules, you get this money. And we expect to see people that are already working on things like that, and perhaps also brand new software that didn't even exist before that competition, come out to try to win.
Exactly.
That is part of what we think makes this so powerful, specifically because that's not just like, okay, talk about other benchmarks for a moment. There's math benchmarks, coding benchmarks, and so on. It's not usually the case that people are making new models or new apps solely for the sake of doing well on that benchmark. It's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. But we actually think that once there's skin in the game here and money that real people can make, that will actually be this market force that draws out. Yeah, I will make the model that's fine tuned for that. I will make the app that's the best in the world at that thing. So this is a pretty different approach compared to static benchmarks and evals that you might see on other websites.
Totally, totally. And I mean, it benefits from all of those efforts too, right? Because we have on the one layer, we have this sort of like rapidly commoditizing like model, like base model or foundation model development that's happening. And they're targeting specific benchmarks and general purpose compute. And then we can create a whole set of markets on top of that that actually then drive towards very specific skills and goals and things like that. And so, we try and paint a little picture here of like, imagine eventually we just have like thousands of specialized markets, micro markets, specifically dedicated to like every AI application or use case that you can imagine. We've started with some financial ones, right? We've started with like AI trading because that's something that's like a lot of our ecosystem is interested in and has direct economic benefit and is an area where like we felt that we could actually push the state of the art forward, and we've seen that with some of our competitions. But we also, you can also start to imagine things like personalized healthcare diagnostics, multilingual content adaptation. We've got a bunch of other ones here, supply chain optimization, a lot of the education stuff. I'm sure Derek and I are going to talk about that in the coming live stream because this is something we care about. But all of these different, we can have a market, and you can have these like much smaller markets because of how we've tried to design the tokenomics. Where, and I won't go into the details just yet because we can get there later, but you want to be able to basically have like broad liquidity across all of these different markets and help them sort of fund each other so that we can actually address very specific, like the market might be very small in terms of like total number of users, but if there's large interest from specific like high important users with lots of interest in that, they can kind of induce that market to exist through economic incentives rather than just like kind of waiting for enough other people to want that thing. I mean, and this is what markets are great for, and this is what crypto is great for, right? It's like actually creating market mechanisms that we can use to drive an outcome or a goal. I mean, that's like basically what crypto is about. And so that's sort of why we've arrived at this as a useful mechanism, is because why don't we use crypto for what it's like good at and make sure that the outcome that we get from that is like something very useful for the individuals participating in the market. So if we scroll down a little bit more, we can play this out a little bit. Long story short, recall is the native token of recall. Amazing how well that worked. And the whole idea is like that becomes the mechanism of coordination and incentives that drives these skill markets. And the outcome of these skill markets is what we've been talking about before. It's like the ranking, the trusted rankings, and the recall rank that we've talked about in a previous live stream. That's the outcome of participation and action within these markets. So you sort of like, you can imagine, we're going to go through like a whole diagram of like how this whole thing plays out. But essentially what we're trying to create here is like a sustainable mechanism where groups identify things they need, they induce that thing to either be found or created. They measure that in a very reproducible way, and then the outcome of all of this is a bunch of ranking and outcome measurements that we can actually then say like, yeah, look, this is clearly the resolution of this market, and now I can build products on top of that recall rank to help identify the best tools for the job, and in all, it starts to create all these layers that are built by this core mechanism. And so that's where we've got these like skill markets for AI. And actually scroll up a little bit, Derek.
Sure.
We can talk about this. So a little bit more, just
Sure.
above this cool diagram. Cool. Yeah. All right. So we're talking about like kind of what these skill markets are. So the way that they work, I just gave the quick outline, but you basically, we'll go through each of these sections. But one, we want to be able to fund the markets for any AI skill that we want. So the first step in this whole flow is that some individual or group or DAO or organization even basically decides that they want to create a new skill market. And so they'll actually like set the skill that they want to test. Maybe it's never using M dashes, or maybe it's like Python coding, or maybe it's whatever. So they define that, they define the evaluation methodology to use, the type of competition that they want to use to then like judge that. We'll talk about what that means in a second. The judging criteria, like what total stake that they need within that market, all the participant rewards. They define all of these parameters and basically launch this market. And then token holders can deposit recall into the market to signal their interest and expected demand in that market. And you get what is effectively amounts to like liquidity providers for that particular market. High demand markets probably attract more liquidity, assuming market factors work the way they seem to always have. Low demand ones probably kind of fade away, or their liquidity moves elsewhere to higher demand things. And then that deposited recall starts to can be used to pay for the competition fees and all that sort of stuff. So the token operates as like a sustainability tool, like it actually drives the markets, but it also is like security, like it's a Sybil prevention mechanism. You have to have skin in the game to actually play the game. All the things that you would expect a token to do in the sort of security sense, it operates here. And so you can start to imagine this is like conceptual representation of what that looks like, where we've got all these different sub-markets. Some attract more liquidity than others. Customer support is one of the biggest use cases for AI agents right now. And so you could imagine a market around that would be quite large, because there's like lots of people who are very interested in the outcome and finding the best possible customer support agent framework, something like that. Whereas maybe like shit posting on Twitter is less of an interesting market, because like there's low stakes on whether you get that right, because it's all crap anyway. Whereas like
I don't know, people got
is,
really excited about AI XPT. I don't know, like that was a market. Well, I don't,
yeah.
and yeah, AI XPT launched a token and is doing well. So it turns out that when it comes to that, maybe there's a fat tail. If you are the category leader at shit posting on Twitter, there's something there, but probably not. There's not enough room for.
I'm not very good at that, but God, it would be kind of handy to have a shit posting agent doing work for me. Anyway, and so I might want to fund that, right? Or I might want to invest in the outcome of that type of competition. So anyway, there you go. So then, the whole point of this is that we want to identify the top performing AI at a particular skill. So after the market gets created, AI solutions are submitted either by the people who build them, or they could be crowdsourced effectively by the users in that ecosystem, right? And if you do that work, right? It's like any crypto incentive mechanism. If you do the work that the network needs done, you should probably be rewarded for that. So if you're the one who builds the AI solution, you definitely should be rewarded for that. And the market mechanisms worked, right? They induced you to build something, you submitted it, and then hopefully you'll be rewarded because you did a good job. But it's almost just as useful to have someone scout an existing AI product and bring it forward and be the one to do that. And if anyone's, if you want to do some extra reading, there's this concept of opportunity markets that this sort of like heralds a bit too, and that's worth reading if you're interested in. And it's the idea that like if you identify a useful opportunity for the network to pursue, or in this case the skill market to pursue, you should probably be rewarded for that because that's real work that needs to be done. So that's kind of how we incentivize identifying the actual top AI within a particular category. And then, as we've been doing, and as people have been participating, over 1 million registered users participating, and I would like to add, Derek, we use competitions to actually resolve the markets. This is kind of cool because we have like this built-in way to decide what the outcome of the market mechanism is. In this case, it's like we induce a competition, it runs, and basically the winner of that competition is the top ranked agent, and that has all sorts of like knock-on information that the market can use to resolve, do the payouts, make sure that the liquidity providers receive the share of like fees within that market that they should get, make sure that the winners of the competition, the builders, the people who identified top ranking AI solutions, they all get paid because they were doing important work on the network. So that's the important thing here, right? It's like everybody who is performing an important skill, I shouldn't overuse the word skill, everybody who's doing an important function on the network should be rewarded for it. Okay, so that's kind of how we end up resolving the things. And then, and if you scroll, or yeah, look here, we've got like an example of literally one of the crypto.
Let me give this a
trading
quick
competitions that we do.
refresh. See what I get. Bada boom. Okay.
Is there a typo?
Yep. Yeah, there's still a typo.
Well, that's the cool thing about live.
We're still early.
Yeah, still early because we haven't finished type checking the thing. Anyway, so we have these competitions that we run, and people have been participating, and this is the first time we're talking about recall and how the recall token is going to be used within these markets. And so far, people have been participating in a sort of like precursor versions of this. But you can imagine that these are going to start to migrate towards leveraging the token for actual like incentive alignment and things like that. So the competitions are going to start to change and morph to reflect this broader like token vision. And I'm really excited to see that happen. And I think a lot of people are going to be pretty excited about how that works. And yeah, so you'll just have to stay tuned over the next couple of weeks and however long in order to see that happen. And we have weekly competitions running now. And so people can get a sense of like, just by joining and participating now, they can kind of get a sense of like what the work that they're doing on the network, how that influences rankings and the outcome of the competition, and then how that will be reflected in like token flows and things like that later.
In fact, I have exciting alpha for everyone who's watching live. Those of you watching the recording, your chance is over. You should have watched live. We are about to do our first live trading competition. So we are taking the agents on chain with real money. In fact, it's with perps. So there will be leverage too. Somebody could like open a 10 times leverage position on a meme coin and hope for the best. And for people that are not participating but watching and saying, okay, yeah, that's fun. What do you got for me? We are upgrading to what we're calling Boost. This is our first version of what it looks like to indicate your support for an agent. You say, I think Moonsage is going to win. I boost Moonsage. And you'll see what happens if you're right soon enough. So alpha here, that launches very soon. Watch the website, get on the newsletter, follow us on X, all the things for the timing on that.
Awesome. Yes. Thanks, Derek. I'm actually really stoked about this boost mechanism. I think it's going to be, I mean, live trading is super cool. And obviously it's like the logical progression for the network. But the boost concept, I'm very excited. I'm excited to launch it and see what people think about it and like how they use it, because it all of a sudden it induces all sorts of like interesting incentive games that people can start to play around with and think about. You know, am I going to boost one agent all the way? Am I going to boost multiple agents a little bit? What am I going to do with my boost? So yeah, it starts to create some fairly interesting like behavior, I think. And the real goal with all of this is that you're going to start to see that some people are very good at leveraging their boost and some people are not that good, right? Just like some markets can be efficient and there's some people who can or not efficient and people take advantage of those inefficiencies in smart ways and some people aren't, and that's what's going to happen. So very excited to see what people do with boost. I actually, so earlier today I tweeted or posted or whatever it's called now on X that we might reveal some alpha, but I actually hadn't thought ahead on like what the alpha would be. uh, and so then Derek actually gave real alpha, so that's pretty cool. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, it's a bad habit of mine to say things early.
Well,
Okay.
we'll more on that
Um,
coming. Anyway, okay, so cool. Now, this is actually, that's a good transition to this, right? To this last section here where rankings are surfaced everywhere people discover AI.
mhm.
So if you go up, actually, a
Oh,
little bit.
sure. Rankings are
Whoop.
surfaced everywhere people
Yes,
discover
indeed.
AI.
So, Derek, we gotta fix this dark mode link
Oh,
thing.
data liquidity, quick.
Yeah, it looks good on the light version. And I'm a bit of a psychopath, so I have like light during the day and dark at night. Yeah, I know. And so for me, it looks fine. But anyway, uh,
I don't even know how
yeah,
to toggle the blog to light mode. I
it
think it
might be
just
harder on
follows
mobile.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So this last section, rankings are oh, it
I'll
did
do
update.
that.
Look at that. It says rankings are surfaced. It's spelled correctly. He did update it
Thanks
in the
to the
background.
liquidity.
Nice. Okay, but anyway, rankings are surfaced everywhere people discover light. So the cool thing about Boost and all the sort of like stuff that we've been talking about earlier is that these are all the market mechanisms that we need to run these markets to their outcome. And then the rankings and like all the outputs from that market, those get surfaced elsewhere for other people and other systems and other APIs and things to consume. So, you know, these trusted sort of like AI rankings that are produced by the market, we call these the recall rank. They're totally open, composable, and you can build things on top of them. So like eventually, you know, we're anticipating like search engines and marketplaces and leaderboards and other things will leverage that. So that tools like, you know, kind of like Perplexity or something like that, where you could ask, you know, what's the best agent for this particular skill, you know, could leverage these APIs and then bring them forward to people. And we've touched on this before, but this is kind of like how Google's PageRank made it easier to navigate and find trusted content on the web. And it's kind of why we called it recall rank, is it's doing the same thing for all of these skills. And we've talked about that before, so I won't dwell on that. But the idea is the outcomes of these markets are directly useful things, which is kind of cool and a little bit different than
The
some of these
thing.
other
Like, that's why
markets.
I'm here, is I just want to answer basic questions like which one's the best at code reviews? Which one's the best at writing emails that don't sound really stilted and weird? Like, I need to know. And in fact, the entire free market needs to know. So that, yeah, that's our thesis, that producing the answer to all these questions in a way that's evolving and accommodates new products coming out and products evolving and getting better over time is not, people might go directly to recall and like search leaderboards and so on, but you could also imagine industries or other application layers consuming this data for their own needs or to surface it in new and interesting ways.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's what we want, and we'll be working to make sure that that happens. Because yeah, I don't want to have like eventually, right? We just want this to be seamless, and ideally, it just kind of like disappears and is used everywhere, and is just like a critical part of the internet of AI. Um, Okay, so now we can go through like I want to paint you an imagination picture here, Derek, where we actually go through. If you go down to like how it works, we have a like work through section. So I'm gonna kind of read this, but with more,
But better.
but better. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna read it, but better. So here, imagine this, right? We've got a group of content creators, right? We actually have this. This is an actual problem, so like it'll be good. So we imagine we have this like group of content creators, and they're frustrated, Derek. They're frustrated because there's no existing AI tools that produce the content that matches their like unique voice and like niche market, right? Like they're writers for some niche market. I should have made up a market. I didn't think of that. Um, Now, what they could do is they could just be like, gosh, I hope Chat GPT 6 is good at this. Maybe it will be. They could do that. But that would be a shame because it won't be. Uh, because it'll be like generally good at like lots of different writing, but not super good at the writing that they need. So rather than waiting for that, what they could do is they could define a skill market with like very clear instructions on like what they need, how to test it, who's going to get rewarded if it works, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. And so they would want to like create a market around an AI writing assistant that maintains creator authenticity or something like that. So in good, like systems design descriptions, our person here is Alice, and Alice creates a new market called authenticated writing, which is going to test AI solutions on tone of voice consistency and subject matter expertise. And because she is an expert in this sort of thing, she knows how to actually like define the market to do this, like what LLM as judge framework she's going to use, what of the rules to like pick the winner, all that stuff. Um, and she thinks it's like reasonably important thing, so she's going to set the threshold to 100 recall. So we're going to need at least 100 recall of liquidity within this market to kick it off. She's going to specify that we need like an LLM as judge, and then one to 10,000, which is totally doable, by the way, given how many people we've actually had interacting with our platform already. But in addition to LLM as judge, she wants 10,000 human evaluators to actually evaluate the responses. And she's going to configure how much judges need to stake and what the winning AI products will be compensated as, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, cool. And launches, right? Recognizing its value, various people go, yeah, I want in on this. I think this is going to be a killer new thing, and it's going to induce new products to be built. So I'm going to deposit some recall in this market to provide liquidity and express my support for this thing and earn fees from that, right? Because I'm adding liquidity to this new market. I should maybe be rewarded for that, definitely. Then some developers, motivated by the attractive market rewards, they're going to contribute products, or they're going to go out and identify existing products because they're like, whoa, these people don't realize that like so and so has already built a great product. I should bring that forward. Or like I already built this thing. Like I can't wait to tell them about it. Whatever that is, that should happen. So they contribute these specialized products developed specifically for this use case, and they're hoping that they're going to win. Now we've got a set of products that have been brought to the market. Now, token holders, they use the recall to take positions on those products that they think are going to excel at that particular skill, because they've gone and they've done the research to figure out, oh yeah, I've used this product before and I know that it's really good, so I'm going to like stake behind that one. Or or I built the product and obviously I think mine's going to be good, so I'm going to stake behind that. Or wow, this is a new product and the developer has described exactly how they're going to approach this problem. That is a solid solution. I'm going to stake behind that. So token holders basically take positions within the market based on their understanding of the the products within that market, and then the competition runs. We get those human judgments submitted, and like if all the conditions for this market aren't met, the market will dissolve and funds are returned and things like that. If it doesn't happen, if it does, we get an outcome. and everybody gets rewarded. And it's designed in such a way that like all of these like conditions have to be met, blah, blah, blah. That's based on pretty solid existing economic systems. So, you know that it's going to like resolve correctly. Bunch of this stuff happens on chain, of course. Then the competition round concludes. Results are recorded on chain as a permanent record. Market rankings are updated. Judges are compensated. Rewards are distributed, so on and so forth. Everything happens as automatically as possible. And over time, that will become more and more decentralized so that it's like a fully on-chain process. And a bunch of awesome stuff just came out of all of this. So like, one, we now know what the best thing for this particular target skill was within the market that was created. Right? I guess it's possible that there is a product out there that's better that nobody identified. But they are incentivized to try and identify it. So if we missed it, that's just because we missed it. But we've like identified a gap, filled it through market mechanisms. The content creators that didn't have the thing that they want now have it. And in theory, other people have it too. Now, this could be a paid product, right? So like now the person who created the product, they also have potentially a wide open market that they now have access to. So developers actually can profit from solving that problem. Early supporters get rewarded for inducing or like sort of pulling demand for this thing, and so on and so forth. So and the main thing is we've now got this like record of all of this stuff having happened and a skill ranking for everything and all of that. So we've sort of like, we have this like actual actionable data that can drive other products and things. So like there's lots of really awesome outcomes that happen when you start to like capture every step of the market process. Okay. I'm not going to dwell too much on here because I encourage folks to read it and we tried to keep it pretty straightforward. This next section. Oh, sorry. Scroll down.
Sorry. Yeah. Token. You're gonna blow through this part.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, well, I mean, it's obvious that it's useful, right?
It's yeah.
No,
Go read it. Yeah. Go back in the stream. Scan the QR code. It's on the Recall blog. Like, go read it.
do read it. It's point form, so it should be pretty straightforward. But basically, these steps here kind of reflect what I just talked about, right? So the recall token is as I mentioned, is the native token for this whole system. So we use it to like actually coordinate the markets. So token holders deposit it to create and govern skill markets. And when I say govern, I'm actually talking about like they can define how the market operates, like what's the skill being measured, how do we measure it, and so on and so forth.
Cool. Yes.
Too?
No, I was in a moment I'll take us all the way back to the beginning to see if we fulfilled our promise of explaining the tagline. And I think we're close. We're only missing one piece.
Oh yeah, okay. I think we'll be there soon. So anyway, market coordination, market participation. So like you've created the market, we've defined the problem, it's very clear. Now people can actually take positions on the AI products within the market. So we use it for that. The AI products themselves have to spend or leverage recall to participate in the competitions. And this gives them access rights to actually then earn recall as defined by each market. And then all of this is, is in classic crypto economic systems are being used to actually secure the market, right? So like we're preventing Sybil attacks and things like that, where you actually have to have some skin in the game. And in theory, you can also, in addition to being able to be rewarded with token, you can also have your token slashed if you're a malicious or a misbehaving actor within the system and don't play by the rules, etc. And then, one of the really cool things about crypto incentive markets and open protocols like Recall is that as the network evolves, token holders will own a piece of that network, basically. It's the whole kind of premise behind crypto economic networks. And so people will be able to like vote on protocol upgrades and treasury allocation and like actually participate actively in the network. And this is kind of like a meta thing, which I think is cool, right? which is the whole point of recall is to give the tools to individuals and humanity to help drive the direction of AI development through market processes. And that's fine, that's great. And you could probably do that in many different ways. But then we also say, like, oh, not only are you going to help to drive the direction of AI development, but you get to help drive how we drive the direction of AI development as a token holder on the network, like through governance and things like that. So like, participating in the network means that you get to help decide how the network helps to decide what to build next in AI realm. I think that's like kind of a cool meta thing, which is
Very cool.
not special to Recall. This is something that lots of token driven networks provide. It's just that in our case, it's sort of like very explicitly putting humans at the helm of this like awesome ship that's driving off to the future, which is pretty neat. And if anyone's read Vitalik's blog post about AI as the engine and humans as the steering wheel, is sort of this is a manifestation of that very concept, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, and then so I think this diagram is pretty useful if you're like struggling to understand what's going on, or you just like want a quick reminder, or whatever. This is a kind of a nice diagram to go through to just understand, like, oh, okay, so a scale market has all these different actors in it. There's liquidity providers, there's the AI solutions themselves, there's people who are operating and curating the market through taking positions, there's the like judges, whether they're AI or human, that are participating. Then there's like the outcome of that, which is like rankings, which some other protocols on top will eventually pay for. And then there's like the protocol that we've defined that runs all this stuff. And these fees kind of flow around through them. And so it's a nice visual to kind of represent exactly what's going on there. And then we have, provided some ways if people are trying to understand, like, oh, okay, how does this sort of thing pay for itself over time, and how does it become more sustainable over time? Well, there's two ways that happens. One, you can check out this section here where we talk kind of like about how the protocol pays for itself through market fees and transaction fees and competition fees and query fees. This is pretty standard stuff that most of these types of markets leverage. So that's cool, I guess, if you're interested in that sort of stuff. We spent a lot of time designing that, so it sucks that it's got a tiny little section,
So
but
you're welcome,
yeah.
everyone.
But perhaps more importantly, and something that we have had the community asking us about, is some roadmap stuff. So if we grab that and pull it up. I was terrible on that.
Sorry, I was so bad. I'll work on my Vanna White.
Yeah. So the roadmap here that we have, I think it's laid out fairly logically, but I think what you'll notice if you start to read through this is we kind of broke it up into now, next, then, and later. And now is like, this is happening now. Like, we're not one of these projects where we're
1.2 million people are doing this
boom,
now.
right there. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we're not one of these projects where we're like, yeah, we're gonna get there. Don't worry, here's the roadmap, and we'll do it. I promise. No, like we already did a chunk of the roadmap, and we're just now telling you about the $sign recall, right? So we already have 1.2 million users participating across 10 markets. They've attracted tons of AI solutions and generated a bunch of curation signals. We're already into our roadmap. So what's happening now? We're kind of seeding these markets with fairly basic curation. We launched some initial markets that we thought would be really interesting to people. So crypto trading. We did everybody who participated in that recall predict thing. You maybe didn't know it, but you were participating in precursor markets around compassionate communication, JavaScript programming, a bunch of others. Now, starting very soon, so like next week, we're going to start to sort of play out these markets a little bit more, where people are actually going to use Boost, which is an in-app tool to actually curate these markets. Eventually, you will stake recall to receive boost, and you'll use that within the app. And you'll get credit for curating quality AI. Like, this is going to start to lead to a curator class of user, which
I'll get
will
credit
actually be good at this.
if I boost well.
Only if you boost well. Well, you won't, Derek, but I'm sure
No,
some
that's
people
true.
will.
Yeah. But I just wanted to emphasize that point because like maybe 99% of people that are interested in us and supporting us and keeping an eye on us, that's the action they'll take. You'll look at a competition, see who you think is going to do well and boost them and stand to benefit if you're correct.
Yeah, yeah. And like, one thing that I like to, or a way I like to think about that is like, I've said this before. If you want to say in the future of AI, if you're like a little scared about the direction it could go, or you want to have a say in how it operates, you have to actively participate. And recall is like a direct manifestation of that idea, right? Like you will get some. We're going to give you a mechanism. By we, I mean all of us together, the network, to participate in the future of AI. And you have to do that if you want to say. And so you'll be able to leverage recall and boost to do that. And then, of course, because you're doing work on the network, you should be rewarded for that. And that's how we align everybody, including the AI, towards specific goals. Right? It's the whole goal here. Um, and yeah, that's the whole point, right? So we're going to give you the tools to do that. And if you get good at that, if you are good at curating, then you should be rewarded for that. And we want to identify those that are particularly good at that, because that drives a really strong signal. And the stronger signal we can generate, the more effective all of this system is. Yeah, so that's the kind of goal there, and that's happening like now. That's the now section. And then, of course, like the recall network team and everybody involved are making sure that like recall rank APIs are going to actually like drive our own applications and use cases and early partners that are going to be involved in the near term. You'll hear more about that over the coming weeks and months. Okay, cool. Then next, we're going to start to like basically open it up, right? So now instead of bootstrapping the network with like specific markets that we've predefined, users will start to be able to fund new markets for any AI skill that they want. So they'll be able to take like positive economic positions on particular AI tools for a particular skill. We'll start to bubble up to the top, like user reputation and reward multipliers for people who are really good at curating AI tools. And along the way, by the way, it's going to be fun because
Darn it.
yeah, this is a cheesy thing to say, but like the best way, like, so there's so much math and stats behind all this stuff, right? But like there's so much math and stats behind X and TikTok and like all these different platforms that people use, Polymarket, whatever. But the successful sort of like public forums and social tools and even like markets like Polymarket make it fun and engaging and sort of like gamify the whole thing. And recall is no exception. We understand that the best way to like get engagement is to make it fun to engage. Just we have this like added benefit of it's a crypto incentivized system, so you can also be sort of like rewarded for participating. But I don't want to like have a system where it's like, oh, okay, we're going to test this new skill. Carson, write a small essay about why this tool is better for that skill. I'm not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. But if it's like, use the tool and swipe left to indicate a positive experience and swipe right to indicate a negative experience, that's a much lower barrier to entry. I'm way more likely to do it. And the team and people who are participating in early sort of like prototyping on all these tools are like keenly aware that the best way to build a system like this that leverages all this crazy math under the hood is to make it fun. So we're going to have these open markets that people can participate in. They'll get access. If you're good at what you're doing on the network, you'll get access to more tools and features and things that you can do. and it becomes this sort of like engaging, fun experience that just so happens to be helping humanity reach specific goals. Because yeah, that's like, that's the fun of it. Participating for fun, but where the outcome is like this net benefit to humanity sounds pretty good to me. So
It's pretty good.
that's what we're trying to get at. So that's kind of coming up next, and you'll see more and more of these nice, engaging features emerge. Then we start to get into like more sophisticated markets where you can actually start to like leverage and sort of like bet against particular tools. And well, I shouldn't say bet, because that's not really what you're doing, right? You're like indicating either I think this thing is going to do well or is going to perform poorly relative to this other one. So you're actually like sort of taking positive and negative positions. You can build up what you might call a portfolio of different AI tools. And we're gonna see like professional market makers operating on these different AI or skill markets. By the way, small fun tidbit of information. We're calling them skill markets. I think it's a very good name. Makes sense for what we're talking about. You have no idea how many times we went back and forth on trying to pick what we would call these specific market mechanisms. Don't naming things is hard. That's like number one thing in computer science. Naming things is hard. Skill markets, I like it a lot. I think the outcome is great. That is what they are. But man, we spent a lot of time trying to decide what we would call these things. Anyway, so the then thing is like we want thousands of markets operating in like independently and liquidity flowing between them and just like constantly operating. And then, it's like collect stocks. I can't remember what the joke is. Something and profit. Never mind. We're gonna scratch that out. This is a lame South Park reference that I messed up. Anyway, later we built this like global AI discovery infrastructure that's just like ubiquitous and there, and it's no longer all that visible. Because this network was just running itself, and we're just getting these like constant sort of like enterprise grade recall rank infrastructure that's just powering everything. Yeah. So eventual global AI discovery infrastructure. And yeah, kudos to Data Liquidity for the diagrams and things like that. He's got beautiful little touches there with the rainbow on the recall coin there. But that's the timeline. So we got stuff we're doing now. We've got the stuff that we're excited to do next. Then we're going to do some more stuff. And then later, it's just this ubiquitous infrastructure. And then, okay, last little like statement here. And I think we're like almost at time. We're going to time this perfectly,
Yeah.
Derek.
Okay, here we go.
The future of AI is you. It's a bit of a cheesy tagline, but oh yeah, and we could be like,
we want you.
We want you. Okay, so cheesy tagline, but the point we're trying to make here is that we want ecosystem participants, people who are part of the recall ecosystem, well, which is going to be everyone eventually, but people who are participating in this ecosystem should have a direct say in actively like summoning forth the specific AI skills that we need to solve everyday problems. And like I already have in my head so many of these things that I would do personally, because in my everyday work, it's like not quite the right tool for the job. Gosh, I wish I could like get together with a bunch of like other developers to be like, what, we need a coding PR review system that's like specific to this, or I need something that's like really good at technical writing and never ever uses hyperbolic language, or like all of these types of, like I can think of so many off the top of my head that I would love to see. So I want to build a pool with other people and make those things happen. But the other take home point here is like AI does change how like broader markets can work and how we build and deploy software. And I just love this idea of like curation at scale or like customization at scale that we've just never been able to do before in software. And it's been this promise of software, right? Like, oh, it's so malleable. It's literally called software. Like, it's not a hardware device. It's software. We should be able to customize it. And the prevailing mode of operation has been like these giant unicorn projects that just build like this thing that works pretty great for everybody. And we're finally at a point where like every subgroup can have finely tuned software specific to their needs. And Recall is the framework that lets every individual kind of like hold onto, like physically represent their stake in a coordination system around making that all happen. It's just a massive market here. And basically, I don't know, we like Recall is like your voice within that market, right? There's so many people shouting about what they want, and they're going to be shouting to Recall. I don't know, that's not a great analogy, but like that's what Recall is to coordinate all that.
Yeah, I'll also workshop how I want to represent that. Yeah, we couldn't do it without you. Well, we could, but then it would be worse. Yeah, like everyone who contributes meaningfully improves it. Every vote, every boost, every agent, everyone saying, "Hey, should we do a market for who's the funniest LLM on X, or should we do a market for which LLM can like create a 3D representation of proteins so that we can like move cancer research ahead by orders of magnitude?" Like, yeah, we should do that. And those might have different market sizes, but both of them have space on Recall Network.
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, I love that actually. I think that's like, and also, as an ecosystem, should we not have a market for this other thing that we don't like? We can decide that too. We can decide the things that we really don't want to exist, or you can do negative ones too, right? Like, should we have a market for, like, I don't know, making sure that a model doesn't rat on you or something like that, or making sure that a model doesn't provide I don't know, bad advice about relationships. That would be a hard one to do, I think. But like you can do the negative ones too to test that out as well. So there's lots of design space to explore here, and yeah, hopefully everybody enjoys it, enjoys reading the article, and enjoys sort of like learning about what we're building, what we're building. Yeah, that's don't forget, like if you participate in Recall, like you're helping to drive the data that network builds. I don't know. I'm like a long time open source software contributor, and there's nothing more like it just feels so good when you like contribute something to a project and like you're not directly involved anymore. Like you wrote the code and it's out there, and people use it to do other things, and like to make decisions or to like get something done. And this is another way that people can participate in a network that will lead to like positive outcomes for other people. And you're like, oh yeah, I helped make sure that AI tool exists now for people. So that's also like, but you don't have to be fully altruistic because there's a reward mechanism there too,
Yeah. If you're good.
And then I don't know, scroll down one thing I probably should
Sure.
do. Scroll down all the way to the bottom. We always got to have a
disclaimer. Okay, here, let me highlight these two though. Okay.
So you should totally check out the website. I think we've even done some updates. You definitely should check out the docs because Derek is very good at the docs.
Thank you.
He puts a lot of effort there. You should definitely join our Discord. It's crazy over there. There's so many people. Come and participate. Last night I was looking at a bunch of submissions to like a competition for like AI tooling and things. Dude, some of them are so good.
Yeah. In fact, People's Champion trading agent Moonsage, one of the members of that team is Vontarius. Shout out Vontarius. Came to our Discord server for a live event just for fun with the community and ate a really spicy gummy bear.
Like the world's most spicy gummy bear.
The world's spiciest gummy bear, which I didn't realize was like, they're mostly not spicy. So I don't know. We have fun. Like you can actually just hang out with the people creating these cutting edge AIs that you are doing the boosting with. Like maybe that's part of your evaluation criteria. Like I think this guy's pretty serious about what he's building because he's willing to endure a very spicy gummy bear. I don't know. Like it just adds richness to the whole experience instead of just
Yeah.
like looking at a chart and being like, okay, 83% is higher than 82%. Guess that one's better. It's like, well, that's so boring.
Yeah, spicy jelly beans is literal skin in the game. Like, 'cause you could be spicy enough to slough skin
Yeah,
off
second
the
degree
inside of your
burn.
mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's how we should just do it from now on, actually. There's all this token stuff. Maybe it's just like you have to eat a spicy jelly
Yeah, we
bean.
didn't say what the rewards were. Like, if you do great in the recall ecosystem, we're going to be sending you so many
So many
spicy
jelly
gummy
beans.
bears and jelly
Yeah.
beans.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we got the disclaimer. I don't know how to deal with that live, but
Yeah, disclaimer: this content is for informational purposes only. Should not be taken as legal, financial, or investment advice. It does not represent an offer to sell or solicitation to buy token securities or any other instruments. The network and token or experimental participation involves risk, including loss of funds, volatility, exploits, and regulatory shifts. Any forward-looking statements about futures goals or performance are aspirational and may change or never materialize. By engaging with this project, you acknowledge you do so at your own risk, and no developer, contributor, or community member shall be held liable for reliance on the information provided.
Derek, that was
I always wanted to
really,
do one of those, like when they do it on the
it's
radio and
really
stuff.
impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I found my dream job.
I knew it. Yeah. I said, that's what I've been saying for ages. I've been saying, guys, I think that
We need
Derek
somebody
would be
who
really
talks
good at
fast.
reading disclaimers fast. Yeah.
So
Wouldn't it be
fast.
great? Maybe we should have a
A scale market?
voice
Don't even
AI
start.
market on
Mhm.
how fast but still clear.
Just how fast.
Yeah, well,
Words per minute.
it'd just be some sort of,
Great.
how fast and
Uh,
clear a voice
no,
AI
that's
can read
serious though.
a
Like,
disclaimer.
put in the chat if you like listen to podcasts or videos sometimes at 1.2, 1.5 speed or more if you're crazy. Like, I would love to have a voice that's so crisp and articulate that I can hear it talk really fast. It's like, great, that's useful.
That's a great idea. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
go
would
fund a
like to.
skill market.
Yeah, you should. That's a good idea.
That's our new meme. Like, I should go fund that. Somebody should fund that.
Someone should fund that. There should be an app for that, or that.
Yeah,
That's the old one, right? There
should be
should
a
be
pool for that.
there should be an AI for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, please read it, or at least have your local AI read it for you. We put a lot of effort into it. Oh, and then I should mention, Derek, that there's going to be some follow-on like articles about this. So this is a sort of like token vision. Like this is where what the token is for, and like how you like what the recall network kind of is doing at a like crypto economic incentive layer. But then, of course, we will have future posts that talk about like the overall tokenomics and distribution and all that stuff, which I know lots of people care about. So that'll be coming post haste. So you can stay tuned for that. But I don't know if we'll do a live stream about that because that one's very straightforward. But yeah, there's lots more to come. So we've got this came out today. We've got more coming out in subsequent weeks.
Yeah, stay tuned. If you go to this blog, you can subscribe. I agree with Aldo Shung here. I'm feeling pretty enthusiastic about the future of AI agents. We are early innings. We are learning. We are making mistakes. Things are changing very fast. And I'm just genuinely, personally looking forward to a day where we stick the landing and can answer these questions so I don't have to spend so much time Googling it and trying things every day. So,
And you're still
yeah.
Googling stuff, Derek? Don't you just
DuckDuckGo,
ask?
shout out DuckDuckGo.
No. Well, yeah, okay. I just ask, Claude or something. Hey,
Yeah,
Claude,
yeah,
go search for
cool.
this
Well,
thing.
thanks for being here, everyone. And remember, hashtag just fund it.
Ha!
I'm trying to generate like new taglines for us here.
There's data liquidity. There he is.
Yeah, thanks, Data Liquidity. Shout out,
Thanks, man.
Chef. I know you're also hanging out. Oh, well, thank you for the time, Carson. Any parting words of wisdom before we say bye bye? You already did a great outro, so.
No, that was parting words of wisdom. Shoot, I should have had some parting words of wisdom. No, I think just let recall, accelerate. I guess that's what that means from, yeah. Anyway, okay, parting words of wisdom. I'm going to give a serious one. If you want to say, I keep saying this, but if you want a say in the future of this, like in the future, if you want a say in the future of the internet, which is AI driven, you have to participate. That's why I'm doing this, right? Like I have some serious concerns about what the future of the internet and like our digital lives looks like, and I want to say in that, and the best way I know how is to participate in the ecosystem, in the market, and in markets, and where this is going. So if you want to say in the future of the AI future, you should participate, and please do. And I hope you do it with us. But either way, get involved.
Great. Thanks for your time, everyone. See you in the Discord.